Okay, you need to watch this before I explain the ending of the Rings of Power. This is everything you need to know about Middle-earth in under 60 seconds. The Valar, also known as the Powers of the West, were a group of angelic beings who came to Middle-earth at the beginning of time. They were led by the supreme ruler All-E, also known as Manwë. Now, their job was to take care of Arda, the world, and all of its inhabitants, and they did that for a very long time. But after about 24,000 years, some of the Valar got bored, so they decided to make some new friends. They befriended the local elves and took them under their wings, so to speak, teaching them the ways of the world and how to survive in it. The elves flourished under their tutelage and eventually became known as the Númenórean elves, or the elves of the First Age. But not all was well in Middle-earth. There was a dark force at work trying to corrupt all of the good that the Valar had done. It was the servant of a greater evil, a guy called Morgoth, who was the original Dark Lord. He basically made a bunch of orcs and trolls and other nasty creatures and sent them into the world to do his bidding. The Valar, seeing what was happening, knew they had to do something. So they assembled an army and went to war with Morgoth and his minions. This war would become known as the First Age, and it lasted for 450 years. It was brutal and bloody, but in the end, good triumphed over evil. Morgoth was defeated and banished from Middle-earth. And that's when things got kind of weird. You see, the powers of the West, or the Valar, decided that Middle-earth wasn't ready for like-hearted folk yet. So they took the elves and some of the other free peoples, like the humans, to live with them in a place called Valinor. It was basically like a gated community for elves and humans, where they could live in peace and harmony, and away from all the orcs and trolls. But not everyone was happy with this arrangement. Some elves and humans wanted to stay in Middle-earth and chart their own course, and so they refused to leave. And that's when the Second Age began. In this age, the elves and humans who stayed behind built their own kingdoms and societies and got on with their lives. But the Valar continued to watch over them from afar, guiding and protecting them whenever they could. And then, of course, there was Sauron. He started out as a relatively minor Vala, but he got corrupted by Morgoth and became the new Dark Lord after Morgoth got kicked out. Sauron spent most of the Second Age trying to conquer Middle-earth, but he was ultimately defeated by the elves and men. The Third Age began with the awakening of the men in Middle-earth. They were initially enslaved by Sauron, but eventually rose up and defeated him once again. This time, though, Sauron was destroyed, and Middle-earth was finally free of his tyranny. And that, my friends, is a very, very short history of Middle-earth.